Good evening. Tonight, we bring you a story that is quietly transforming the very foundation of American governance and society. In a year marked by unexpected unity, the United States Supreme Court has delivered a series of unanimous 9-0 decisions. This rare consensus among the justices has not only surprised legal scholars and the public alike, but has also set in motion a wave of changes that are reshaping the American landscape in profound ways. Once regarded as a battleground of ideological conflict, the court has now become a symbol of agreement, at least for this pivotal year. Their collective decisions have expanded the reach of presidential authority, redefined the powers of federal agencies, and sent shockwaves through state governments from coast to coast. The impact of these rulings extends far beyond our borders. America's approach to foreign aid, immigration, and international diplomacy is being recalibrated as the world watches closely. Allies and rivals alike are reassessing their relationships with the United States in light of this new judicial direction. The image of a unified Supreme Court is prompting global leaders and international organizations to reconsider America's influence and intentions in the 21st century. The ripple effects are being felt in capitals around the world, but the consequences are not just international or confined to Washington, D.C. These landmark decisions are reaching into every American community. They are shaping the way our children learn in schools, the protections we enjoy as consumers, the rights we defend as individuals, and the progress we make in science and technology. The federal government's power, especially the president's, has grown dramatically, altering the balance between the executive branch and the rest of the government. This shift is redefining how laws are made, interpreted, and enforced. Tonight, we'll break down the most significant cases, hear from leading legal experts, and offer a preview of the landmark decisions that are still on the horizon. We'll explore what these changes mean for the future of American democracy. Understanding this historic shift is crucial for every American, as it will shape our rights, our government, and our place in the world for years to come. To understand this moment, we must look at the court's recent evolution. For years, ideological splits led to narrow decisions, but the new conservative majority has produced unexpected unity on foundational questions of executive power. Legal scholars suggest this consensus is strategic, reinforcing the court's legitimacy by speaking with one voice on the separation of powers. The cases of 2025 were carefully chosen, allowing justices to unite around a shared interpretation of presidential authority. The Trump administration's aggressive testing of executive boundaries has created a feedback loop: bold action, legal challenge, and Supreme Court validation. This dynamic has set the stage for a transformative era in American governance. In 2025, the Supreme Court delivered a series of unanimous decisions that sent shockwaves through the nation's legal and political landscape. These rulings, each one sweeping in scope, marked a turning point in the balance of power between the branches of government and set off a cascade of changes across federal agencies and public policy. In McMahon v. New York, the court sided with the administration, granting it the authority to cut nearly a third of the Department of Education's workforce. The decision led to immediate layoffs, with thousands of employees packing up their offices and leaving, and sparked heated debates about the future of public education and federal oversight. In Trump v. Boyle, the court ruled that the president could remove Democratic members from the Consumer Product Safety Commission at will. This move was widely seen as a blow to the agency's independence, raising concerns about political influence over consumer protections and the precedent it set for other regulatory bodies. The decision in NIH versus APHA permitted the administration to slash $800 million from minority and LGBTQ+ health research. Scientists and advocates protested, warning that these cuts would undermine years of progress in public health and disproportionately harm vulnerable communities. In Noem v. Perdomo, the court allowed race to be considered in immigration enforcement, a controversial move that drew condemnation from civil rights groups. Meanwhile, Department of State v. AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition upheld the freezing of $4 billion in foreign aid, halting critical support for global health initiatives and humanitarian programs. Through these decisions, the court signaled a broad willingness to defer to executive power, reshaping the boundaries of federal authority. Yet, in Trump v. Illinois, the justices drew a rare line, blocking the president from deploying the National Guard to Chicago without the state's consent, emphasizing the limits of federal intervention in domestic affairs. Even in an era of consensus, the Supreme Court made clear that the use of military force on American soil remains a deeply contested issue, one where the balance of power and the rights of states still hold firm. At the heart of this shift is a redefinition of presidential control over federal agencies. Decades-old protections for agency independence have been dismantled by a series of 9-0 rulings. Trump v. Boyle and McMahon v. New York gave the president sweeping authority to remove agency officials and restructure departments. This unitary executive theory, now embraced by the court, means agency decisions, from consumer protection to monetary policy, are more closely tied to the White House. Legal experts call it a major consolidation of power, with both conservative and liberal justices framing it as a constitutional, not partisan issue. The court's message: the president has broad authority to manage the federal bureaucracy. Even dissenting voices on policy have joined the consensus on constitutional structure. The court's unanimity has transformed immigration and social policy. Noam v. the National TPS Alliance let the administration end deportation protections for Venezuelan migrants, while Noam v. Perdomo allowed race in immigration checks, decisions that sparked controversy, but underscored executive discretion. Trump v. Orr required passports to reflect birth certificate sex, a blow to transgender rights. NIH v. APHA allowed deep cuts to minority and LGBTQ+ health research funding. In each case, the court deferred to the executive, expanding its power to set and enforce contentious policies. The Justices' United Front has redefined the boundaries of federal authority in social and humanitarian matters. The political impact is seismic. Executive power now overshadows Congress. With agency independence diminished, the president can swiftly enact policy, cut workforces, and redirect funding, making Washington more volatile. Economically, decisions like freezing foreign aid and potential interference with the Federal Reserve threaten market stability and global confidence in the U.S. dollar. Socially, rulings on passports and research funding directly affect transgender Americans and marginalized communities. Immigration enforcement changes have fostered fear and mistrust in immigrant communities. State governments face new uncertainty as federal priorities shift overnight. The court's unanimity signals a foundational legal shift, not a passing political phase. Every state must now adapt to this new reality. The Supreme Court's 2026 docket is shaping up to be one of the most consequential in recent memory, with a series of high-stakes cases that could have far-reaching effects on American law and society. Among the most closely watched is Woolford v. Lopez, a case that will decide whether states have the authority to ban firearms on private property that is open to the public. The outcome could set a powerful national precedent, influencing how states regulate guns in places like stores, restaurants, and other businesses, and potentially reshaping the landscape of gun control across the country. Another pivotal case, Trump v. Cook, asks whether the president has the power to fire a Federal Reserve Board member at will. This decision could have major implications for the independence of the Federal Reserve, potentially affecting the stability of the U.S. economy and the balance of power between the executive branch and independent agencies. Trump v. Slaughter continues the ongoing debate over presidential authority to remove officials from independent government agencies, a question that could redefine the limits of executive power and the structure of federal oversight. In West Virginia v. BPJ, the court will address whether states can ban transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The ruling will have sweeping implications for schools, athletic programs, and the rights of transgender individuals nationwide, fueling a national conversation about fairness, inclusion, and equality in sports. Sripech v. SEC could dramatically limit the Securities and Exchange Commission's authority to regulate Wall Street and enforce financial laws. If the court sides with the challengers, it may become significantly harder for the government to prosecute financial fraud and protect investors, with ripple effects throughout the financial industry. Together, these cases will further define the boundaries of executive authority, individual rights, and the power of federal regulators, shaping the legal landscape for years to come. As the nation watches and waits, the Supreme Court's decisions in 2026 could fundamentally reshape American law, government, and society, leaving a lasting impact on generations to follow. Legal experts see the court's unanimity as a return to constitutional formalism, prioritizing the text and structure of the Constitution over policy outcomes. Some suggest liberal justices are joining conservatives on executive power to preserve influence in future rights-based cases. This unity projects legitimacy and signals the end of the unchecked administrative state. The court is shifting power back to the president, but not without limits. As seen in Trump versus Illinois, scholars note the court is drawing new lines. Vast executive power to manage government, but not to override other constitutional provisions. The coming cases will reveal where these new boundaries lie. The court's direction is clear, but the implications are still unfolding. Americans must watch closely as the legal landscape continues to change. We've witnessed a year of historic, unanimous Supreme Court decisions that have redrawn the map of American power. Executive authority has expanded, agency independence has shrunk, and the effects reach every corner of society. The coming cases on gun rights, the Federal Reserve, and transgender rights will further define our nation's future. In this era of rapid change, understanding these decisions is essential. Staying informed and engaged is the foundation of democracy. Read, discuss, and follow the court's actions. They shape the world outside your door. The Supreme Court may be the final legal authority, but citizens guide the nation's direction. Your attention and participation matter now more than ever. Thank you for watching.